if all of our collective skills in these almost fringe sides of coding and development and IT and even other industries, if they're all getting absorbed by AI and we're kind of dulling that blade, what's the impact of that? Hello and welcome to the Pybites Podcast, where we talk about Python, career, and mindset. We're your hosts. I'm Julian Sequeira.
And I am Bob Beldebos. If you're looking to improve your Python, your career, and learn the mindset for success, this is the podcast for you. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Pybites Podcast. This is Julian. I'm here with Bob. How's it going, Bob?
Hey, very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good for this Tuesday evening. We're getting close to autumn now in Australia, so it's starting to get a little bit cool, but then, get these hot days. It's fantastic. What about you?
Yeah, spring is coming.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you'll be rubbing that in for a couple of months.
Yeah, till it gets like 40 degrees, whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you'll be stuck on summer holidays, and I believe in your part of the world, the kids get to stay home for like 3 months.
Don't get started. Yeah. Pybites will get me through it.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so let's jump into some wins then. Let's start on a positive note. So personal wins. What do you have? What's happening?
Yeah, I think the win here for me this week is consistent working out. So I completed 7 full weeks, or 5 times a week, plus this week too. So I'm 37 out of 37. Nice. And I don't use a tracker. I only use WhatsApp, and I just send you the N/M. So M is kind of the goal, accumulated goal, and then N is what I realized. So now I'm with another week of 5 to go. I'm 37-40, and that's kind of my way of accountability and track. But yeah, it feels great. It's now a habit, so still tempting to keep reading in the morning, but the alarm goes off and you just go up. You just know that you need to do it, because during the day it will be procrastination and hard.
That's awesome, man. And I need to hear that, right? Because I've actually found it much harder to meet my goal of the exercise this year, which I'm struggling with. I'm only averaging about 2 to 3 a week, which is, it's something. It's better than nothing, but it's not what I used to be doing. And I want to be doing more. So I like hearing that. Thanks for sharing that.
It's still better than nothing, right? Like 5 is definitely ambitious, but if you can do 2 or 3, it's still better than 0, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I take it with this, right? Like, sure, I want to do 45 minutes, but if a day I do like 30 minutes or 2/3 of a workout, it's still better than 0. And I think that really, dropping that perfectionism, plus having the trigger in the morning, that really helped. So,
yeah, no, I love it. That's awesome. Habit building.
Yeah.
In action. So
it works. Good. It works.
What about you? My wins. What do I have? Look, aside from the workout and just copping to it, not making excuses, and doing what I can when I can, I'm considering that a win. Just being honest with myself. But one win that I shared in the community that a goal that I had for this year was to learn some computer assisted design, so CAD software, for the 3D printing that I picked up at the end of last year. And I'm proud, man. I actually did it. I started using some Fusion 360 and just our just-in-time learning, the JIT model. I was learning specific pieces that I needed, like how do I make this a curved edge, and how do I make this hollow, and all of that. And of all things that I created, I was able to design my own dimmer switch knob for a light switch on my kitchen wall that had been snapped off for months. The stuff from the shops didn't actually fit it perfectly. And so I designed this from scratch. It took about 45 minutes, and I was really proud. It took 3 prototypes or 3 revisions till I got it just right. So there's a personal win from me. A nice.
So cool, man. Yeah, I'm seeing all these pictures on WhatsApp, and you're really excited about it, and really, getting results. It's super cool.
Yeah, I think the impressive thing about the age that we live in is that I can have an idea, sketch it out, and then have the physical product within a couple of hours, all without leaving my house. Like that's mind blowing to me. So
yeah. Same as going from an idea to an MVP coded in a day Ooh, which brings us on the topic, maybe?
kind of, kind of.
Very finished?
Before
Very
we
finished? I don't know.
No, no, before we jump into the main topic, which is about technology and its impact on us, first we have some wins from our community, which we wanted to share before we dive into the meat of
All
the
right,
episode. So
you go.
what's happened? No, you do it, Bob. What's happening?
Well, I think I know the one you're going to do, so I will do the other one. But they're equally cool, right? Like
Yeah,
Blaze started to host these community events, right? And so now, I mean, the community was great. It's growing. People post a lot of cool stuff. There's really great engagement and interaction. So we're really happy about that. And by far surpassed what we had on Slack. But now Blaze is hosting these events. So now we have live events, and people just randomly join in, and it's really cool. And I feel it really has taken the community to the next level. So shout out to
yeah,
Blaze, and thank you. And yeah, just keep an eye on the community events tab or space. It's amazing.
yeah. And especially because some of them have been quite ad hoc, right? Unplanned. He just feels like jumping on and people come along and help him code and learn as well. And it's just incredible. So,
Exactly.
um,
Yeah, some are
yeah,
planned, and some they just go live and work on stuff, and
yeah.
yeah, randomly, people chime in, and that's really cool.
Yeah. So this is the next, I feel like it's the next stage of our community for everyone listening and watching. Make sure you join and stay present. Even if you lurk, keep it open so that you get a notification that someone from the Pybites team has gone live to just code and share and, then jump in and participate. That's the best
Yeah.
way to build your skills and build some community at the same time.
Right, and it's also the flywheel effect, right? Like people start
Mm,
posting, and then people get notifications, and they start posting, and it's almost like the more everybody contributes to this, the better everybody wins, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, I love it. And the speaking of everybody winning, very very excited and proud to share that two clients of ours and members of the community, Mira and CJ, have just shared in the past week or two max that they have both landed software developer jobs, and they're just it's for them, for each of them, it's the dream job, whether it be because of proximity to home, the stuff that they're working on. It doesn't matter. The point is, they landed SDE roles and they are absolutely over the moon, and so are we. And the thing I constantly drive home to everyone listening, I know you hear this all the time, but this is like the proof. The proof is in the pudding. It was just persistence and determination that got them the job. It was
Mm.
purely that they didn't give up. They had infinite setbacks. They had lots of ghosting, lots of people knocking them back. But the fact that they didn't give up, they didn't throw in the towel, they just kept going and they just used it as motivation to keep on to the next application. They got there in the end and they got their jobs and they're absolutely chuffed, very excited. So,
Yeah.
congratulations.
I think that's a good reminder, right? Like also for them, it was not easy, and they had to
Mm,
overcome a lot of setbacks. But how badly do you want it, right? They kept
yep.
going, and ultimately they. But yeah, when it was tough, they might not have been able to see it because
Hmm.
it can be really demoralizing, right?
Yeah.
But
In the
they
moment.
persisted. Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm very proud, very, very proud of the both of them. It was just incredible. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens next. And then also a special shout out as well. One of our community members, Ashlyn, just shared, and she's been searching for a role for ages. And again, just persistence. And she's gotten a call back, has second round interview coming up for a developer role, which she's very excited about. And it's just, you know, this is what happens when you don't throw in the towel and when you keep going. And, of course, we have to nurse the wounds a little bit sometimes and the disappointment when you get through multiple rounds and so on. It is frustrating and disappointing. But again, it's the people who get back up that get the next chance and get the opportunity. So I'll stop ranting there, but I'm very proud of everyone in the community and very excited for everyone. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. All right.
Okay. So now, Bob, talking kind of about community, we have seen a trend, and everyone listening and watching, obviously for our coaching program for PDM and PDI, Bob and I, we get on calls with people before they join because we want to see where people are at and set expectations correctly and all of those sorts of things, right? So one of the common threads now that is more common than anything else with the calls that we have, and we have plenty of these calls, is that people are hitting a wall and they're getting frustrated. So, Bob, so I'm not doing all the talking. What are people getting frustrated about? What are they fed up with at the moment?
That AI gives them all the answers, and
Hmm.
they don't really learn how to troubleshoot and put it all together, right?
Yep. So,
So uh, somebody shared this article with us, right? It's on NJ's blog. Somebody that goes as Neo or at NamanJG on X. And it's called AI is creating a generation of illiterate programmers.
yep.
I can do
Yep.
the intro. It's kind of it's a really good article. You read it as well, right? Like it
Hmm.
starts as a couple of days ago, cursor went down during the ChatGPT outage. I stared at my terminal facing those red error messages that I hate to see. An AWS error glared back at me. I didn't want to figure it out without AI's help. After 12 years of coding, I'd somehow become worse at my own craft. And this isn't hyperbole. This is the new reality for software developers.
Yep.
Oof. Ouch. Ouch
So
emoji. Yeah.
that was written on January 24th this year, 2025. So
Right.
actually roughly a month ago from now. Um, and I hadn't seen it until was it Christo that shared it with us?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hadn't seen it since Christo until Christo shared it with us, and it resonated with me because of all those calls that we're having,
Yeah.
and so many people frustrated. They read books, they watch videos, they don't understand. It's not sinking in. They go to AI because that's kind of what the yeah, I guess the stereotype and what the society say, yeah, use AI, and almost to the point where you go and ask someone, their answer is, "Have you asked ChatGPT yet? Have you
Mm,
Googled it?"
mm,
And so people aren't getting the expertise. The AI is doing the work for you,
mm,
and you're not learning through the fire like many of us did back in the day. So
mm.
this generation that's learning to code purely through AI, and that's what I'll preface this with, and is that it's if you learn purely through AI, what are you actually learning?
Drowning in tutorials, finish the bootcamp but still feel stuck. AI makes coding look easy, but turning knowledge into real world skills is the real challenge.
That's where Pybites coaching comes in. With one-to-one mentorship, we help you focus on what matters, build real projects, and achieve real results. Land a dev job, launch a freelance gig, or build your own SaaS.
But it all starts with a free goals call where we look at your unique situation and provide you with solutions. For more info, check out pybit.es.
So where do you see you just and everyone we haven't prepared for this conversation. We're literally just talking now and that
We
you're
never do
listening
we?
to you're listening to just a raw chat between
Yeah.
Bob and I
Yeah.
on this situation. So
Well, we read the
in
article
this
at least.
yeah, we read the article. There you go.
Yeah.
But
But
so where's the gap?
mm,
Where's the friction here?
yeah. And by the way, this resonated with a lot of people, right? If you look at the stats at the top, 1 million, 1.25 million views, 3,500 upvotes plus upvotes on Reddit, and 100 plus comments on Hacker News. So
Hmm.
definitely resonates with a lot of people. So the friction, yeah. So I think where experienced developers can leverage these tools effectively, it's because they have the experience, right? So it expresses in better prompting, but also in the skill of putting it all together. Now, if you're new and you go straight to these tools, either you're not going to prompt it effectively because you don't have the knowledge, or you're going to struggle to put it all together because that's a different skill set almost, right? So yeah, it's tough because if you're new in this field, how can you earn your stripes, right? Like back in the day, it was
Hmm.
a lot of Google Stack Overflow, and you had to kind of filter through the answer, debug, trial and error. That's a lot of that is gone if the AI is going to give you complete solutions, right? So I don't have a good answer because I'm not a newer programmer anymore, but of course we do coach newer programmers. So
Mm.
you really have to find a balance of where to use these tools versus still doing some of that hardship, and I think the
Mm.
article suggests like do like an non-AI day a week or something like that, right? To make
Yep.
it a bit more harder on yourself or deliberate to actually get those skills,
Mm.
right?
What's I think as well the frictions coming in because and he mentions, and I didn't think of it this way before, is the dopamine hit, right? We get
Mm,
these instant answers to things that historically would take us hours sometimes to figure out. One of the things he mentions in the article is uh, the the trace, the essentially if you have a bug or there's an issue, you get error code, right? Um, Figuring that out could take ages. It could take hours. You'd have to go and put, sometimes you have to debug stuff in an actual debugger. You'd have to, I remember stack traces, we'd have to copy and paste those into an actual tool back in Oracle and Sun, right, to debug
or
what
just read
those,
the errors, right, and go through the
exactly.
stack trace manually.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and look at the
100%.
source code, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now you can literally just paste it into GPT or whatever, into an LLM, and it'll decode it for you. And so the opposite side to this argument is, well, yeah, that's the point. What's so bad about that? And
Mm,
this is where the just AI in general, where I think we kind of have to be cautious with how much we let it take over the stuff that we should be knowledgeable about. Because the hypothetical that I run through in my head, which may not be that hypothetical anymore, is if you don't have the skill and you rely purely on AI to do it, what happens if, in this case, there's an outage? Or who is going to be the person that solves the problem when AI can't actually solve it? Because what happens when you put an error in that it can't actually figure out, or it doesn't give the right answer, it hallucinates or something? Who's going to figure it out? So if all of our collective skills in these almost fringe sides of coding and development and IT and even other industries, if they're all getting absorbed by AI and we're kind of dulling that blade, what's the impact of that? You know?
mm, mm,
So what do you think about this? Like what I enjoy the idea, by the way, of having an AI free day, right? But I guess the question is if there's a new developer coming in who feels that, look, I can get ahead and churn out things much faster. Because AI, like, here's the thing, as business owners ourselves, as people who have a certain literacy with code, we're much more comfortable using AI to develop. And sometimes, with our products and things that we do, we want to move quickly, right? So there is a good part of having AI. There's a benefit there. But to say that we do everything through AI would be false. So when you have AI there as a method of speeding things up to get things done quicker, which would make a new developer look better, and sometimes the employer may not care about how they came to the answer, as long as it was done
mm,
quickly. What would you say to someone in that situation?
That's a great question. So I think it goes with discipline because yeah, it's kind of human nature to take sometimes the path of least resistance, right?
Hmm.
But you can it's still in you how you're going to use those tools, right? Like you can paste the stack trace into the tool, or you can still have the discipline to go through it yourself and read source code, right? To read books about software to get like the holistic understanding and skill set, right? To do some refactoring manually. So have the discipline to still use the tools because I don't think it goes away, and I think you're still missing out if you not use them. But maybe just stay curious, and if you, I gave the example to somebody yesterday about if you want to understand fast API depends and dependency injection, not just use the depends class in your code as GPT would suggest or the docs, but actually ask it to explain like and then I asked it something like, what is the depends? What is and that's where the prompting becomes in, because I could follow up immediately like, oh, that's a dependency injection. Explain me dependency injection, right? And
Mm,
somebody newer to coding might not make that link, right? But at the very basic level, you can just add, oh, I have this route in Fast API. I see the depends class being used. Why is that? Oh, that was the thing. I was linking it to decorators in Django to make a comparison, right? So my prompt was a bit richer. But even
yeah.
so, if you don't have that knowledge, at the very least, you can still, instead of just using it, you can just ask about what is this depends class? Why is it used in this route in Fast? That's purely what you see on the screen, right?
Mm,
Um, what's the source code? It even went to the source code and was actually, yeah, it was pulled that in as well, right? So you can really dive deeper and use it more like an explaining tool, um,
mm,
and have that discipline, right? To still do things by yourself and just use it as an aid instead of just, because that was what somebody commented about reading this article. What the concern was, that people literally started to copy paste stuff without even knowing what it is, not even
yeah.
testing it. So as long as you still have the discipline to do the common software craft, I think you can learn a lot and faster. But yeah,
Mm,
that's kind of in how you use the tools, right? So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? You can, yeah, you can have it take over and not become a skill developer, or you can use it as an aid, right?
yeah.
Does it make sense?
No, yeah, completely. And you just got me thinking. There's this whole concept that is it making us illiterate as
Mm,
developers? There's when you actually understand something, you can talk to it. You can talk about your decisions. You can talk about why. You can talk over your code, right? What I fear for people is one, as a developer, being in a situation where they've just kind of relied completely on AI
hmm
and they get to a point where someone asks them the question like, why did you write it that way? Or how did you miss this glaringly obvious exploit? Um,
I didn't write it.
and then how does,
Yeah,
like, as an individual developer, you'd feel very silly, your job's at stake, all of that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
On the flip side, managers and hiring managers, people who I would say, this is getting kind of political in the corporate scene, but there will be managers out there who care about nothing but the bottom line, the money, efficiency, metrics, that sort of thing. They don't care about the code quality. They don't care about why decisions are made the way they are. They just have pressure from above, get this thing done and over the line. Fair enough. But if they start reducing metrics and deliverables because they are allowing their teams or expecting their teams to rely on AI, they're promoting a very dangerous precedence here, I think. And that's something that
Yeah,
makes me worried because I want to say, and this might be controversial, they're promoting the ignorance, right?
right.
They're not allowing their teams to grow and they're not promoting them to grow. They're just promoting them to be the conduit, as they say, this person says in the article, they're essentially the conduit between the AI and their code. They're just the hands and feet, essentially,
Yeah,
for what they used
yeah.
to call us in the data centers, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And a shout out to the books as well, right? I think we still should read software books because they always
mm,
talk about code quality and the craft, right? And if you keep that in mind, what I said before, right? If you take it as a craft, you will actually validate all the lines of code. You will write tests. You will make sure that what it gives you is of quality, right? And um, oftentimes, even with experience prompting, I got an 80, 90% good solution, but I still had to tweak it and iterate, right? And putting that extra care in, then you can have this really nice hybrid. But I think it starts with craft and caring and being curious, right? And
mm,
yeah, and yeah, I think that will come. But again, I'm talking more from an experienced perspective, so it's hard to speak from a. Maybe you can speak more from the beginner mindset.
yeah. Well, the thing that I would say from a beginner mindset is just build.
Mhm.
How did you do it before? How did people do it before? They read documentation, they experimented, they played. Their app wouldn't work for a few hours. They'd fix it, they'd get it working, and then they'd break it again.
Right.
And that was just the trial by fire that we had. And a shameless plug for our coaching program. This is what we do. We build with you. You are constantly coding and trying new things and experimenting and coding on branches and merging things into your mainline only when they're of a certain quality and if they actually work, so you can break things, you can experiment. It's fun, it's satisfying. It's not just copying out of web browser and pasting it into a repository, so that's my encouragement for people is get that passion back for coding, get that in that interest, the curiosity that drove us before to write code, the experimentation, the kind of scrappiness that first drew you to writing scripts on your computer to copy files from one location to another at a certain time, mapping it to a cron job and feeling like you were a god, like that kind of energy we need to bring back, and not this kind of just heartless, soulless reliance on artificial intelligence to just tell us what to do and what's right and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say, I reminded myself when I mentioned cron, is that this isn't just coding, right? This is every other aspect of our, I'll say technical, but this goes into all kind of workplaces and, job types and things. Think about IT in general, right? I mean, I'm doing all this home server stuff and doing my home lab and things like that. It is so easy when I have some sort of an issue with Linux to just pump it into AI and say, what's the problem? It's so
Mm.
easy, but it's because I don't get to really troubleshoot hardware and deal with data centers and that kind of stuff anymore, that I just sit there and go through the pain because it's kind of fun. It takes me back. It's nostalgic. So, remembering how LSPCI works and remembering how to slice up a disk and screwing it up and then going, oh crap, I got to format the whole thing and blow away the table of contents and start again, right? This was stuff from when we started back at Sun, you and me. And I love that. So, but it's very easy to have AI just walk you through the whole thing. And
Mm.
again, even more obvious in that kind of industry, when things go down. The server that's running your AI may be the thing that goes down. So how do you troubleshoot that? How do you fix it? How do you do that from a terminal? How do you replace parts? How do you troubleshoot physical components, these things through the physical tools and a or a serial terminal attached to it or something like that. These things are lost. They're
Mm.
starting to become lost. And I'll give one more example. I'm on a rant here, Bob, but this means a lot to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, keep going.
Um, is that I'm also seeing in a lot of large IT companies, they're relying on AI and workflows to kind of tell their employees exactly what to do. And in some large, they shall not be named cloud companies that we all know and love, uh, employees are told not to think for themselves. They're told follow the exact steps on your screen, even if you think you know better. And those of us who do know better will say, no, that's not the fault. This is the fault. It's going to save hundreds, if not 1,000 or so dollars or thousands of dollars to not replace that part and to do this one that actually works. But if you do it, you get a slap over the wrist. There's a warning and you're out. And that's this this is where I go back to that first part of saying companies who are focused on the bottom line, on the time, on the dollars, and not on the actual skill set and nurturing their employees. That's what's going to happen. And that's what's happening around the industry. And it's pretty sad. I think it is
Mm.
pretty sad.
Yeah.
And I think you and I, we were in IT in some of the glory days, in the late 90s, early 2000s. We got to see this beautiful, flourishing technology push that was involved humans quite a bit. And now it's,
I think those troubleshooting skills back then that
yeah,
really
man.
set the stage. Still
Mm.
using that till this day, and
And that's why I love when in our community people join and they were from Sun or used some of the Sun Microsystems equipment from
yeah,
where we started.
always brings a
It
tear
makes
to the eye. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm
yeah,
done with my rant, everyone. That's my shoot.
yeah. We'll link the article. Give it a read. It's good awareness, and yeah, it's just something we really have to find a good balance with. Not going to go away.
Yeah, exactly. So just I think another way everyone just take away from this is be interested. Find a reason to have an interest or passion for what you're doing, and you're probably going to be less likely to just let an AI take over the job
Yeah,
for you. You know.
yeah.
So
And my summary would be definitely use AI. I use it very intensively, but I also
mm,
have the business owner hat where I just want to build stuff fast.
yep.
But I think if you keep caring about quality code, then you can actually find that balance. And still use it intensively. It's just that your prompting will change. Like, oh, maybe you should do another iteration and challenge the AI, and then
Mm.
the more you iterate, you can actually get to a very nice hybrid solution, I think.
And again, the challenging comes from knowledge. If you know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
to challenge it,
So keep
then
reading
you
your
get it
software books. Yeah. And articles.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go through our coaching. Yeah, do that too.
Yeah. That's really helpful as well. Yeah. Talking
All
about
right,
books,
so
what are you reading?
we'll wrap it up. What am I reading? Well, I will say I'm very excited. I didn't want to finish it because I was enjoying it so much. I finished that Korean book, the Welcome to the Hyeonam Dong Bookshop. I'm sure
Can
I
we do
butchered that.
a collections counter on that? Most common book mentioned. Like, how many times did you mention that?
Man, I just
Three
because
times? Four times?
I would 3 or 4 times. I'd
How
only
many
allow
more times will
myself.
you mention it? Like five
I
times?
want to. I want everyone to read it. I want
Yeah.
everyone to read it. It was such a good book, but it's a good book for me because I love. Oh, hit my microphone because I love Korean culture and stuff. But what I wanted to say was I finally finished it because I was allowing myself just one chapter a day because I didn't want to finish it. And now I started again, like I mentioned on the podcast a week or so ago.
Nice.
Nexus,
Yeah.
Yuval Noah Harari. So now I've opened it and started reading today.
Yeah.
So that was
It's pretty interesting, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
already into it. So, what about you? What are you
I
reading?
wish I had that hardcover because I'm listening on Audible and I still have to get it work, man. Like audiobooks. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, but
Yeah.
yeah, I still enjoy it. Listen to it in the shower.
Yeah. Okay.
Set
Fair
you.
enough. No, I don't think so. Anyway, somebody from my family started reading The Idiot, Dostoevsky. So now I feel
Okay.
inclined to read that again. But I also picked up a Fast API cookbook because kind of similar to this discussion. Well, I think I know Fast API and I do know quite a bit of it, but there are probably corners I don't know very well. For example, I was making this ensemble programming tool with Fast API and
Hmm.
WebSocket, right? And of course, using a lot of AI. But then, yeah, let's step back a little bit and read that chapter on WebSockets with Fast API to really, understand it better. So yeah, that's kind of my motivation to, although I use it a lot, just see if I can really understand all the parts of the framework and
Mm,
challenge myself. So that's why I'm saying
cool.
like read the books, use AI, but read the books as well, just for the conceptual knowledge.
Yeah. And as always, we will always have a disclaimer: read the books, but implement what you're learning. There's no
Oh yeah,
point just reading it cover to
this is
cover.
after the
Yeah.
implementation. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
So,
Yeah, yeah. Building first, always. Yeah.
yeah.
Don't go
Build,
just sit
read.
there reading. Well, some like this book, I wouldn't just read it like before building anything. But then there are of course the timeless books. You can read those without building, like
Mm,
read Clean Code and Pragmatic Programmer. Those are more conceptual.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. All right, man. Well, that was a good chat. Thanks for listening to my ranting as well and for your input. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we didn't plan on talking about this article. Now we did.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. Nice.
Any call outs for everyone listening and watching? Any call to action?
Yeah, cliche, go build. You always say that.
Come talk to us about coaching. We want to
Yeah.
coach you. You want the coaching. It pays off. It's amazing. So just do it. Um,
Yeah, I'm really happy just seeing the transformation and the results people are getting. And that's yeah, just they they see the light, right? When they start to implement and build these more mature apps. And then seeing those wins about these apps. For example, somebody built this Google Books API, Books app with Fast API, Streamlit, Marvin AI, using Google Books API, and it's such a joy seeing that coming to fruition, right, and becoming a real app and something really cool with AI recommendations, and then they share that win, right, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. So
yeah, and I think on that note, one of the things I want to call out for everyone is that half of the people who come through our coaching, they're not in developer jobs. I want to set that expectation, right?
Right.
They're not in developer roles. Some of them, one of the people currently in the programs in the finance industry, I think a chartered accountant, something like that. We've had
two
lawyers
accountants right now.
Yeah, two accountants. Yeah, but we've had lawyers in the program. We've had people from all walks of life, right? There's a nurse who's going through some coaching with us. Like coding is for everyone. You just have to give it a try and believe in yourself, back yourself, and you can do it. That's it. Yeah. It's not just for the technical nerds who grew up with it. All right,
totally.
We could talk forever. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Join the community. Use the links in the comments below, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Bob.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Peace. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Pybites podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. A quick message from me and Bob before you go. To get the most out of your experience with Pybites, including learning more Python, engaging with other developers, learning about our guests, discussing these podcast episodes, and much, much more, please join our community at pybites.circle.so. The link is on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, and it's in the show notes for everyone else. When you join, make sure you introduce yourself, engage with myself and Bob, and the many other developers in the community. It's one of the greatest things you can do to expand your knowledge and reach and network as a Python developer. We'll see you in the next episode, and we will see you in the community.